Well, June is National Safety Month. And of course, we always want to remember that we need to practice safety in and around the farm and ranch. Let's talk about National Safety Month and get some perspective from Laramie Sandquist, risk management leader for Nationwide Agribusiness. Laramie, it's good to talk with you again, my friend. How are you?
Yes, Jesse, thank you very much. Appreciate being here.
So, give us the perspective just to start. National Safety Month. Obviously, we try to put more emphasis and focus on being safe in and around the farm and in the ag workplace, et cetera, et cetera. We want to be safe every day of the year. But again, this is kind of that month where we try to add to the messaging and the outreach, so to speak.
Yeah, as you know, we try to stay on top of safety every day of the year. But, back in February, I know we always talk about Grain Bin Safety Week. We get into the April timeframe, we talk about distracted driving. And now the summer months come in, it's a good reminder of worker safety. So we try to stay on top of this and make sure that we have tools and materials and resources out there available for folks. And a lot of times, like you said, a lot of times just reminders, right? We all kind of know how to do things safely, but sometimes we get into the grind of the day to day, and sometimes we take some shortcuts. And we just want to remind people that sometimes those shortcuts can cause some pretty serious injuries and unfortunately some deaths.
Well, I know some of the latest data from Nationwide is showing a bit of a concerning trend when it comes to large commercial agribusiness. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, if you look overall, ag, we all love this industry, but we also know that can be pretty difficult sometimes from a safety standpoint. But it's really fascinating that ag is 5 times higher as far as average industry deaths than the rest of the industry. And I don't think a lot of people always recognize that. And I think a lot of times we always think it's the newer, fresher people into the industry. And we do know that new people into the industry tend to have higher losses and incidents that are out there. But we're also finding that those in that 3 to 5 year range are also seeing a spike, which tells us that continual refreshers, continual training of folks, and then also ensuring that folks that may jump in and out of the industry, the seasonal type workers, making sure that we're not just relying on the past experience, but giving them the updates on the new tools, the new technologies, the new things in the workplace that they may not be as familiar with.
You kind of alluded to it there. And I guess it does make sense that some of that continual training and that refreshing of how processes go, et cetera, whether you're a, 1, 2 year veteran or a 10, 20 year veteran, it's kind of important to just make sure that as an employer, you're staying on top of these things with your employees, right?
Yeah, no doubt. We know that ag is one of the leaders in technology and the adoption of technology advancements, and we know farms in particular are changing dramatically from year to year as far as their investment in technology. But are we keeping up on the training of our seasonal employees and all of our employees as it pertains to some of this technology? I'm getting up there in age, and sometimes I see some of this new technology, and I'm like, wow, I would not feel comfortable, getting on that piece of equipment without someone teaching me, how to use it and getting up to speed on some of the things that are going on. So it's just that refresher as well that, hey, things are always evolving, things are always changing, and being able to take that extra 5, 10, 15 minutes at the beginning of the workday to refresh folks on what's most important that day, which is obviously getting the work done in an efficient manner, but also getting home safely at the end of the day.
Well, I know Nationwide, you guys are trying to help drive that conversation in agribusiness. You have a new program, Every Step Counts. Tell us a little bit more about this, Laramie.
Yeah, no doubt. We started this program this year. We've been working on it probably for the last 9 to 12 months, but really trying to simplify a message around where are the key processes and steps in that process to ensure that everyone's on the same page. So we came up with a very simple step program, as we call it. And the first phase of it is the selection and orientation. So as we're bringing new people on board, what are the things that we want to make sure that we're training them on? And then, of course, our training and safety programs, are those programs staying up to date as our farms and ranches are changing, as we're adding new equipment, as we're adding new processes and facilities? But then we also know events and losses will happen. So that's the E of the program, making sure folks know what to do in the event of a loss. Fortunately, a lot of folks don't have losses. So it is kind of an unusual situation when they do have a loss. So sometimes training on the front end to say, hey, if you do get a cut finger, or you do get maybe a little more seriously hurt, here's what we do. But then the P is also the post-event happenings. What are we doing after the fact to ensure that this never happens again in the future, or that we can put new processes or things in place to prevent that from ever happening in the future?
By and large, what is the most common thing you see across agribusiness right now when it comes to safety? What are you really reminding folks in different agribusiness companies on the farm and ranch, et cetera?
Yeah, I think if you look across all industries, right, distractions are a huge part of our lives today. You think back just 5, 10, 15 years, we could really concentrate on the task at hand. And now our concentration level is like in the 30 to 60 second range, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on in our worlds, a lot of stuff going on in our minds, a lot of stuff going on in our employees' minds. So taking that step back at the beginning of each work shift and just going through, hey, what are we doing today? What are the tasks we're going to complete? And then what are also the safety measures that we should be thinking about in those tasks? So I wouldn't say it's one specific area like slips or falls or things like that. I would say it's more based around that whole measure of, are we getting people aligned with what we're truly doing that day, and then keeping their focus and attention on that task at hand.
Sometimes simple things can make a big difference in being safe in and around the workplace and on the farm and ranch. Laramie, good stuff as always. Final thoughts you would share? I know Nationwide, you guys have a lot of resources available for folks, et cetera. Tell us about that, and what would you leave folks with today?
Yeah, I'd encourage folks to go out and visit our website, nationwide.com/agribusiness worker safety. I know that's a mouthful, but there's over 70 different types of resources, materials, videos, and things that folks can work through. Very simple, easy to use templates for folks that maybe are starting on the journey of putting together training and materials, but also some more in-depth stuff for folks that may already have an established program. So we tried to hit everyone of where they are and what part of the process they're in.
Laramie Sandquist, risk management leader for Nationwide Agribusiness. Always good to hear from you, Laramie. Thanks for joining us. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Jesse.